Hello again, and this video is just following on from the previous one. After I've run the engine, decided I don't know how long it's going to be before I ride this bike, so decided to drain the fuel out of the carbs. This is something I always do if I'm putting the bike away for storage for a bit. Never leave fuel sitting in carburetors, so I'm just draining off the float bowl screws on the bottom of the carbs. Might as well do it now while it's easy to do. Just let all the fuel drain out. Just tighten them back up again. Just the drain screws on the bottom of the float bowls of the carburetors. That's all the fuel drained out of those. Just removing the carb balancer unit with the pipes. Pull those off. Can't get to them. You can't get these with the carburetors on, so I've had to remove the carburetor, pull the carbs off to get to them. The two rubber grommets you fit over the intake stubs. Remember to put these back, otherwise you'll have problems with the carburetors not running right. They'll be sucking air in, you'll be hanging up on the revs. You let go of the throttle cable and the revs will stay up, they won't come back down. It's important to block these off. Two rubber grommets that go on the two outside stubs, and the two inside ones there's a hose that you have to connect. This hose now. It's a 3-piece hose. Push the two ends of the hose on there, and the two little clips, circlips securing them on. The other end of the hose goes onto the end of the pair valve system there. It's all to do with emissions. The other end goes onto the end of that valve there. Push that on. Remember to reconnect your choke cable on the carburetors. Like I forgot then, I just put the carbs back on and realised I couldn't get the choke cable back on, so I had to pull them off again. So I can't get my hands to it. So that's just the choke cable reconnected. I've already got the throttle cables in there connected. Just a case of pushing the carbs back in now to the rubber boots. Make sure they're located. This bike's got fuel cut-off valves on the float bells, the same as me ZZR 1200, and they clip onto the back of the carbs. When I got this bike, these were just hanging loosely, so they're supposed to clip onto the back of the carbs there. Slot down, there's grooves that you can slot into. This is all to do with emissions apparently, because this is a late model ZZR 600. It would have had catalytic converters in the exhaust, and these cut the fuel so no unburnt fuel can get into the exhaust when you turn the engine off, which could damage the cats in the exhaust. So that's what these are fitted for. Don't forget to reconnect your hose for the ram air system. connects onto your carbs that equalises the pressure in your float bowls as part of the ram air system. Just a case of tightening up the little clamps on the intake rubbers. Make sure you clamp them down so it doesn't suck any air in as well. On this bike they use a JIS screwdriver to tighten them up. They're ready to fit the airbox on now, I think. Just checking those two hoses are just drain hoses for the airbox. Just checking there's no water in them. Feeding them down the side somewhere where you can get them in. So ready to go on. Got the same problem here as had on the ZZR 1200. Ideally you need to pull these parts of the ram air system, you need to pull them forward to get it locate properly, so I decided to remove the front fairing again. To remove these infill panels, I've already got the other side off. 2 screws holding these on. Just remove all the screws you can see basically. I'm going to do the front forks next anyway, so taking the front off is going to help me access the forks. That'll be the next job I'm going to do. This is just the mid panels now. You take all 4 screws on the top of the mid panel fairing, take those off. Got a nice sunny day for this. Hopefully you can see a bit better. That won't come off just yet because there's another screw under that panel. In fact, there's another 3 screws to take off yet. Lift that panel out because it's on a rubber grommet underneath. And there's a 10mm bolt holding it on there. There's a bracket. Got to remove that first. Keep them all together in a little space saver thing. 2 screws on the inside you've got to remove. You had to use a stubby little screwdriver to get in. Same type of screws that they have on the outer fairing, just the little plastic ones. Should come out easy enough. Those 2 out. So first I'll be taking this off, so I've already taken the other side off, so I know roughly how it comes off. Just have to lift it away at the bottom and it drops out. Next job is to remove the screen. take all the little screws out the screen, lift the screen off, and you can remove this other panel, lock panel. You have to remove that before you can get to the bolts for the mirrors. Access to these mirrors is quite tight. You have to use a ring spanner. I think it's a 10mm ring spanner. You can't get a socket in. Two little 10mm nuts you have to remove, and you can pull the mirrors off. That side off. Gently lift her away. That's all that's holding. The fairing will just come off now. Just a case of undoing the two indicator wires. Yeah, there's two indicator wires and there's one other wire, and then the headlight bulb harness for to use a little flat screwdriver to get this off. It's tight, so that's that off. Comes off easy enough. Now you can fiddle around with these ram air tubes to get them in. That makes it a lot easier. Locate them into the airbox. Just another hose that goes on the back of the airbox. I think it's just another drain hole. To get these two screws in, you have to go through you have to remove the two rubber grommets, otherwise you can't get to them. Just hold the back of the airbox on. Quite tricky. Tying them up by hand to start them off. Tighten them up, don't go too crazy because they're only screwing into plastic. Start to assemble the air filter now. Actually got this the wrong way round. It goes the other way with the grey side up. Wasn't sure if that was the correct way, so I'd look at the manual again. Look at the pictures on the manual. Always handy to have it a hand to have a look at when you're doing jobs. Yeah, so I think it goes according to the pictures I've seen, and goes the other way around with the grey side facing upwards. The yellow side faces down. These are just plastic retainer things. hold it in place, put those remember to put those rubber grommets back in. Seal the airbox. Found it easier to put that metal screen thing in the actual airbox lid. Just make sure it slots in. There's 2 slots in the lower airbox it has to slot into, so you don't bend it. Check both sides, make sure it slots in. Just a case of putting all the screws in the top of the airbox and tightening them down. Again, don't go too crazy on the tightness. Last job is just to reconnect this is the crankcase breather hose that goes on the top of the airbox. The other end of that goes to the crankcase. That's the end of this video for now. I'm going to move on to the forks next, so that'll be the next video. Thanks for watching.